Hello and welcome to another video from the Fantasy Legion. I've got Sean with me. We're previewing another league today, Sean. So
yeah, it's good to be here, Aaron. It's always nice to preview somebody else's league. I always enjoy those.
well, yeah, you're not in this, so you can give a fair reflection on what's going on in here. This is another Devy league, a Trevor Lawrence appreciation league. So
Yep.
Basically, how it worked is it was an auction. It's a super flex league as well, so QBs were going for ridiculous prices.
Yeah.
You'll see what
Yeah,
I paid for Mahomes in a minute. It nearly wiped me out.
Okay.
But
And what was the budget? What was the budget in this league for the auction?
I think it was 500. I think
500.
500.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was,
Right.
and basically you could bid for players, or you could bid for. There was 4 rounds of rookie picks, and then there was 4 rounds of Devy picks, so they were separate. So the rookie picks were like you'll see here, like with Antonio Gibson, he'd be second round pick 11, where it says 606. The Devy league followed on, so that would be second round 6th pick. So that round 5 was the first round 6 for Devy. So just to give you an idea of what we're looking at here. Right. Well, let's start with the commissioner, George. He stepped up. He did a good job, actually. Very, very good job. It was good to see. So let's go through
it's
team.
nice. It is nice when new people step up to run the commissioner role. I think that's a great thing. And George has been around the league a few years, so it'd be nice to see what he's done here.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So let's go through his team. So he's picked up a couple of sort of late round Devy quarterbacks in Trey Lance and Jaden Daniels, so they're for the future. But he has got 4 sort of starting QBs, and as it's Superflex, that could be.
I think he
spent quite a bit of money. So 94 on Wilson, 85 on Wentz, 22 on Minshew, and 63 on Josh Allen. But
he's looking at those 4 alone, let alone the Devy League players. I have to be honest and say that's a perfect score of 2. That's perfect for me. That there's nothing to add to it. He's got a really nice mix there. I can see he spent a lot of money on it, but it may well be worthwhile. We'll have to see the rest of his team, but that's a really, really good situation to start.
All right. Okay. So again, he's picked up 3 sort of late Devy running backs there. So Kylin Hill and Kenneth Gainwell and Isaiah Spiller. He's also. So these are the actual ones he's got to start. So he's got Antonio Gibson from Washington, the rookie.
He's got a chance. I mean, again, Washington's, there's a chance this player comes through the pack. Quite risky, but it's got a chance. Didn't pay much or obviously anything for it, so it's all right.
You got Justin Jackson for $1, which isn't bad. If anything,
it's very good.
You've got Anthony McFarland and Zach Moss. So he's got 3 sort of second-round rookie running backs and Miles Sanders.
Well, the truth here is how many running backs do you have to start in this league?
I think 2.
Right. Yeah, he's in a bit of trouble here. I mean, he's obviously spent his money on his wide quarterbacks, which of course he gets the perfect 2. Miles Sanders will be very good, but he's got very little to back it up with. Is this a half-point PPR or 4-point PPR league now?
Well, let's have a look. Because
just for additional, when we're just having a quick breakdown of the players, just kind of curious to see what was decided with this league.
So that's for kickers. So it is half-point PPR for that.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Well, it's just to get clarification because.
Because you need to know what's going on if you're going to break it down. So
so I would say the running backs leaves a bit to be desired.
You have to start 2 running backs, 3 to 6 wide receivers, so 2 to 5, 1 to 4 tight ends.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky. I can see what he's trying to do there. He's got Miles Sanders, he's got Zach Moss. That probably be the 2 that he starts, and then he's looking to bring up one of those Devy League players on next season. That could well be. It could well be Hill. If I'm right, he'd have a reasonable shot coming in and doing something year 1s, but. It can't be misunderrated that he's also got 2 players who've got some big upside there. McFarland may come on, and Anthony Gibson may also come on, but they're really tricky to judge them at this stage of the year.
Yeah, but, so I think when you see that,
it's okay. The running backs, but there's not much depth to it, and a lot can go wrong quickly. If anything was to happen to Miles Sanders, if he missed 2 weeks, he'd be in real trouble with this team. So, okay.
He
let's see
actually
what the
did
rest of his.
draft Joe Mixon, and me and him traded because I drafted Chris Godwin, so we kind of traded. So I got Mixon off him, and he got Godwin off me. So let's look at his receivers again. He's got 3 Devy players.
Yep.
You know, Tamori and Terry probably a really good bargain there. We're talking in the third round of Devy, so that's pretty good.
Devy, right? That is
Randall
good.
Cobb obviously got him for $1. He's a filler. Devin Duvernay, who I've been picking up quite a few shares of.
Yeah, worth a share. Yeah.
Bill Fuller, so you know he's been given the all clear this year. He's supposed to be looking good. That'll happen for at least 4 weeks, won't it?
Well, does his body know that? That's the question. I mean, he may be given the all clear. We'll see how that plays out. Yeah,
Chris
Godwin's good.
Yeah. You got T. Higgins, Van Jefferson, and Chenault, another few rookies, and Landry is probably a real bargain for $4, to be honest.
I think he's cheap. He's very sound. He is coming back from an injury himself, but by all accounts, he's ahead of schedule. So it's okay. Again, I could see some tough things with that team. You need to start 3 of them. When you start looking for 3 names with confidence, that looks quite tough.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Godwin, Fuller, and Landry probably. You know,
yeah, it's tough. It's not easy. I think the way I'll break it down, the quarterbacks get the perfect 2. The running backs I'd give 1.52, and that's because of Miles Sanders. The receivers I'd also give a 1.52, and that's because of Godwin. Out of the 2, this is so it's good, but it's not great. And I'm being very fair with that, and that's where I would assess him so far. So. And the league has 5 areas that you have to 5 areas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 areas you've got to judge the team on. So,
I mean, he's got 2 good young tight ends as well, like Hockenson and Fant, so they could well come on a ton this year.
Yeah,
and Justin Tucker, who was we know how good he is.
Well, if you look at it logically, Tucker's got to be worth a 2 because he's a great kicker, very consistent. Quarterbacks are worth 2 because he can min-max those. So there's 4, gets 3 points total from the wide receivers and kickers, so he's up to 7. His tight ends would be worth 1, so he's got 8. 8's good. That would mean to me I would be looking at a team that's on the edge of the playoffs. So yeah, he's got a chance with this team. It needs a couple of people to kick on.
Okay, well let's move on to Sam then. He obviously got Spencer Rattler, who's a QB for the future. So we got a few sort of. I mean, he got Lamar Jackson. Me and him were having a bit of a bidding war. A few of us were over Mahomes, but he got Jackson a lot cheaper than Mahomes, so he's done all right there.
Yeah,
134. So he
well,
rid of his budget. He got Steady Terry pretty cheap, 22 for a super flex.
Well, it's a bit of a sleeper for this year, Teddy Bridgewater. I think that him and Lamar Jackson together could be very useful. Phillip Rivers is the check down king. It's a solid 2. Jameis Winston will probably end up with a job at some point during this year or before the season starts.
I mean, he is with the Saints, so if anything happens to Breeze, then he's straight into a job, isn't he? So
yes, and you never know, maybe
could get traded.
Yeah, anything can happen. So
it's a solid COVID, 2. Anything could happen, to be honest.
Yeah, solid 2 there for the quarterbacks. Like that group very much. If I could give slightly more, I would, but it is a good group.
Right, so he's got Charbonnet, who's a Devy player, but he's also picked up J.K. Dobbins, obviously in the draft. Which is, he could be decent.
Well, he's heavily invested.
He's actually gone above Swift now in the rookie draft. In rookie drafts, he's actually going. He's 104 now, and Swift's down to 105.
I mean, it's splitting hairs, isn't it? It's whoever you like for this year. I mean, but I can see he's really bought into the Baltimore stuff here because he's not only got Dobbins, he's got Mark Ingram as well. So, he's
got that backfield covered, hasn't he? Well,
he's pretty much chips all in. The only drawback to his team is week 8. That'll be a bad tough week. But he's got,
when the Ravens are on their bye.
But he has also, let's be fair, he's also got Christian McCaffrey to go with it.
But they're not a bad player, is he? He's not bad at fantasy.
So if you look at it logically, he's a 2 at his running backs, he's a 2 at his quarterbacks. I'm liking Sam's team, if I'm honest again. This is a very good team.
I mean, you like Armstead for a deep sleeper. He got him for $1, and he got Freeman for $1, who could come in at any moment. And
I like I like the group so far. It's a solid, very solid team. And obviously he can start 2 and then he can maybe start 3. So he's in a nice situation with that team.
I think he's done a really decent job with this, actually.
What's his wide receivers look like?
He's got Devontae Smith, Devy player from Alabama. He's got Jamar Chase from LSU and Justin Ross from Clemson.
So it's clever.
John Ross is
very,
brother, isn't it?
Yeah. That's very clever.
So he's got some exciting receivers there to look forward to.
There's one at the moment on that 3 that I'm really excited about for moving into this season, see how he does. So I like his thinking here. So that's clever on the Devy players. We'll see how he develops this season.
He picked up Keenan Allen for 30. That's pretty cheap. Devontae Parker for 23 is pretty cheap,
Yeah, that's cheap.
He hasn't overpaid for any of them. He's got the exciting...
Alan Lazard's worth a shot there. Hunter Renfro, very
they're
sneaky.
clever players he could sort of pick up. Josh Reynolds might be the 3rd receiver at the Rams, getting the Cook sort of role. Well, replacing Cooks, really, not the same sort of player. He got exciting Henry Ruggs. He's got Steven Sims at Washington. Well, with Calvin Harmon out, there's definitely opportunity there for catches.
Yeah, the thing about the wide receivers that you can't be perfect everywhere. I'm going to give it just a 1 because it needs players to kick on to be really relevant. But it's still a great score.
You've got Keenan Allen and Devontae Parker. I know you're not a fan.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 1 because they often break down and there are some issues. So it's going to be a 1 there. So far he's got 5 out of a possible 6. That's pretty good going. Let's have a look at his tight ends.
He's got Higbee and Hooper, who are pretty decent. Tight ends 6 and 12, respectively.
Yeah, so I'll give him 1.5 for those.
And he paid $6 for the kicker there.
That's a great kicker
from Kansas. A bit of a homer.
Yeah,
I think it's a great kicker because he lost out on Mahomes. He felt he had to go and get some.
Definitive. George is on the cusp of
big Chiefs fan.
George's team is that classic 6 or 7 win team as it stands on paper today. Sam's is an 8-9 win team. That's a very, very strong squad. I like that.
You can destroy my team now because again,
let's have a look.
I overspent early on Patrick Mahomes. He cost me 152.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, you wanted to get him, and you obviously went and got him.
I think it's 6 points per touchdown thrown. Maybe it isn't. Can't remember. But it was definitely worth owning Mahomes, obviously being a 2 QB league. I'm a bit thin at QB, to be honest.
You're probably
I ran out of money, so...
Yeah, you're probably a player short as it stands.
Yeah.
I would normally give you a perfect 2, but because you're going to run into some bye week issues, I can't give you that. But I can give you 1.5 because
it is super flex, so I'll have to play some. But I really have. When you spend 152 on Mahomes, it's
it's going to leave you short elsewhere. But it is very good. It's strong, very strong. You can't go wrong with a steady quarterback in Mahomes to lead your teams for this year. And as you say, it is super flex, so there are other opportunities, but. Obviously,
Kirk Cousins will do an all right job.
He will. Yeah, okay, so let's look at
solid, if not spectacular.
Let's look at the running backs.
Okay, so we got. I've got Mixon. I've only got Bernard because he's $1 and he's a backup, really.
Yeah,
just as a bit of cover. I traded for Mixon with George, with Godwin.
Yeah, you've got Chubb. You got Nick Chubb as well.
Yeah, I got Chubb and David Montgomery, Matt Breida, and Malcolm Brown.
Yeah, solid. It's a solid 3. You can get 3 good starters from those guys, and
Breida as well if necessary. So
I'd be giving that a solid 1.5. So you've scored 3 from a possible 4 for the first 2 sections. So that's pretty good going. That's nice and solid. Let's see your wide receivers.
Yeah, well, I've got a couple of Devy players there, kind of, late sort of dart throws really at a few players there. I've managed to pick up
a lot. Well, a lot of Devy players can come on in this, particularly this season. So,
I've kind of got a stack because I've got Sam Howell and I've got Diami Brown of North Carolina. So if they both do well, I was thinking that both of their values are going to rocket. So
yeah,
and he looked good. Sam Howell, he played one year in college and he had a really good year. So I'm hoping he can keep that up or even kick on. So
yeah, well, you've done well with him. You've done well with him.
Wide receivers, AJ Brown. I bought everyone called Brown. I got Malcolm Brown. I got John Brown. I got AJ Brown. I don't know what was going on.
Perhaps it's an omen for the season ahead.
I think my pants were almost brown after I spent 152 on Mahomes.
I could believe that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've done well. You got CeeDee Lamb as well.
I got John Brown for $1. To be fair,
Antonio Gibson. That's good.
I haven't got
James.
Antonio Gibson, Antonio Golden, Gandhi. I've got
Gandhi. Sorry,
Gandhi Golden, Gandhi Golden even.
Yeah.
And then
That's
I got
nice.
I've got the $1 players, like just to try and fill out players like D.D. Westbrook. You can put in if you're desperate. Washington, Terrell Williams, James Prosh. I think I own in every league, but I picked him late. Jalen Rigor, obviously, we're both a fan of him. CD Lamb, we're both a fan of him.
I think the team for the wide receivers, you've got lots on there, but I think I wouldn't be scoring it
got
any more
lots
than
of
one.
players.
You've got a lot of players. It's kind of, but it's only a one at the moment. There's a few things that have to happen for it to be worth more. It could that could be worth a lot more by the end of the season. That's for sure. But at the moment, I would score that one.
Yeah, so I sort of built this team for future, really, a bit like George did with his.
You've scored four out of a possible 6 so far, so that's okay. Let's see your tight end group.
Yeah, they're not so good.
Okay.
Eric Ebron, obviously he's with Pittsburgh now. Dawson Knox, Buffalo tight end. These are all $1.
Yeah.
I'll never spend on tight ends. So.
Yep.
So we can gloss over that.
That's
that's tight ends. Who needs tight
0?
ends?
That's 0.5. Okay, yeah. And you finish off with what kicker? Will Lutz.
I've got 2. I've got Will Lutz and Kami Fairbairn. So
okay, well, Will Lutz is very, very good. So that's a 2 to finish. I mean, your team is on the edge of the playoffs, a bit like George's team. It's one of those that could
it's
be
a younger team that I'm
close.
hoping. I'm a bit short at QB, so that's going to be
a couple of areas. Your wide receivers will need to kick on, and your quarterbacks will cause you some problems during the bye weeks. And when you put that all together, that is why you're a cusp team.
Yeah, so I think John Brown and AJ Brown will do a job at wide receiver. And Diddy Westbrook you can put in, and then you can got emergence event. Chris Conley did all right last year, 127 points. CD Lamb, and Rager. I need them to come in early, really.
It could be that classic. Yeah, it could be that classic situation that your team is one of them teams that, if with a bit of luck on the schedule, you could get over the line, but a bit of bad luck and you won't make it. So it's beautifully poised. I love seeing that. Very interesting.
Next one's David Smith, also Smooth. He's Dog Day David as well in one of our leagues, I believe.
Okay. Yep.
He definitely knows his stuff. So he's sort of newer to our leagues, but he definitely knows his stuff. You can tell from what he was saying and what he was doing that he knew what he was doing. So he's got Bryce Young and Jamie Newman, good quarterbacks for the future.
Yep.
He picked them up sort of in the Devy draft. He's got Derek Carr, Jared Goff, and Matt Ryan. All 3 good, serviceable quarterbacks, really.
Yeah, nice and solid.
Considering quarterbacks, it's super flex. He bought some bargains, really.
I mean, he's really gone for bargain over value. I like it. It's a solid 2 for me because he's got 3 starters there. That means he can win max.
Some of them are value, I think. No, considering
it's good value.
The price to pay.
No, it's good value. It's a simple 2 for me out of a possible 2 because he's got 3 starters. He's not relying on stars, but they've all got. Matt Ryan's been in the top 5 twice in 6 years. Jared Goff's been up there once. Derek Carr may never get there, but at least he's solid.
Yeah, at least he's starting for now anyway.
He does a job. Okay, let's see his running backs.
So again, he's sort of quite heavy in youth and Devy. So he's got Jonathan Taylor, obviously big fan of his. He's a good pick to get 104 really, because obviously with the 2 quarterbacks going early, you get he's going to get CEH or Jonathan Taylor. So you got Jonathan Taylor.
You put him and Elliott together, and that's exciting. I mean, Todd Gurley's going to do a job. Damian Harris could come on this year. Cam Akers, we don't know yet what's going to happen with the Rams backfield.
He could be excellent for
He's got 3 Devy players that are very interesting. Yeah, it's a strong 2 for me. I like that because he can at least start 2, and there's a chance other players will kick on. So interesting that. So 4 out of 4 for me so far. I like that.
Yeah, so he's got his 3 main receivers he spent the money on are Juju, Smith-Schuster, Allen Robinson, Julio Jones. Spent a bit of money on their 3, so they're sort of the anchor of his wide receivers. And then he picked up some $1 bargains, really. Deshaun Jackson for a year or 2 might be all right. Crowder's an excellent bargain for $1. That's a bit.
Yeah,
I wanted him, but he snuck in front.
Yeah, he's done okay. I mean, it's not perfect there, but I'm going to give it a solid 1.5. There's plenty to
He's
work
got
with.
4 solid starters in the bottom 3 and Crowder.
Yeah, there's plenty.
I mean, Deshaun Jackson has to start because they've got no one else.
The key with those ones, this could become a 2 area as well. So David's done well here. That could become a 2. It depends on how well Juju Smith-Schuster does. If he kicks on again,
Jalen Waddle and Seth Williams for the future.
Yeah,
so they could be exciting players.
So he's done very well. He's 5.5 points out of the possible 6 to begin with, and he's looking good moving into the easier part of the draft. So let's see how he does here.
He's got five tight ends. One's a Devy one. Jordan Brevin out of Miami.
Clever. Yes, clever.
Jordan. Is it Brevin Jordan? Actually, I don't know. I don't know who that is, to be honest. But Zach, it's Jordan Brevin, isn't it? Zach Ertz, obviously decent tight end.
Very good.
And he paid 26, so definitely not.
Very good bargain. Yeah, very good.
Njoku for $1. I mean, he looked a player, didn't he? But he's never really done anything in the league. Really, I don't know if he needs a move. Seems to have settled down again now. He was talking about moving out, but
I have to be honest. It's Dave's done well. He's hit it out of the park here. That's a playoff team for me. He's done everything right here. He's got good players, pitched to the right values. There's a lot to like about the team. Yeah, I see a playoff team there.
Okay, let's move on to the next one then. Right, our good friend Mike. He's an Eagles fan, but apart from that, he's a nice guy.
He's still a friend.
He is. He's a friend and rival. Yeah, I mean, I like him. It's just the eagle in him.
Yeah,
dirty eagle in him. So anyway,
of course, absolutely. Well, let's see how dirty eagle there. He's only got 3 quarterbacks here. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, so he's got Sam Darnold. Obviously, again, he hasn't spent a lot on QB, so he's got Justin Fields, who's an exciting quarterback for the future. He's got Marcus Mariota, not a fan of his. Dwayne Haskins obviously could kick on. Ryan Fitzmagic will have a job for a bit. And Sam, so it's probably a bit ropey. His QBs.
I'm going to give it a 0.5. I don't like it at all.
It's one of those that could go either way though, because it.
Well, Alex Smith's it's an amazing story to get back to any kind of fitness, absolutely. But that's as far as I want to talk about that.
I think he picked him up off free agency because he's got.
Yeah, Marcus Mariota may never get another job again, or may only be a bench warmer moving forward. No, it's not. There's a lot here to worry about. Ryan Fitzpatrick will be riding the pine very quickly.
I don't know. You just don't know though with how long you're going to get.
You get 4 weeks, maybe. That's all you're going to get. This is a 0.5 on a maximum of 2. It just doesn't have the quarterback depth in this kind of league, and that is going to be quite hard to overcome. But we'll see. Maybe the rest of his team can prop that up.
Well, he does. I mean, he spent a bit. So he's got Singletary, Mostert, Marlon Mack, Kerryon Johnson, James Conner, Tevin Coleman, Reggie Bonifon, who went for 6. So a few people after him. Lev Bell and Najee Harris is an exciting one for the future. So
I've got big concerns about this team. Big concerns, being honest here.
I don't know. I think he's all right. I think he's got.
Marlon Mack could be out of a job pretty quick. James Conner, we have no idea what he's going to do.
He hasn't paid big money. He's paid 6 and 12. I think for them, 14 for them. I mean, it's not.
I'm going to give it 1.5. Out of the possible 2, I think that's fair, based on the fact he could start 3. But I've got concerns, and you're right, it could go either way. But I'm just being honest here. Mike knows I'll only tell the truth. I won't sugarcoat it. If it was really good, I'd say it, but I'm concerned. A couple of things have to break.
I know you're not a big fan of some of the players, but he's got loads of depth. He's got Lev Bell. I mean, he's definitely going to play. Tevin Coleman will play. James Conner will play. Mack and Kerryon Johnson will definitely, have a role. We don't know how big that is, but he's certainly not paid a lot. He's paid 13 for the 2, and
it's one. It's very fair. It's 1.5 out of possible 2 is very, very fair. 75% out of 100 is fair based on depth, but I've got concerns. It could go the other way as well as it might kick on a bit. But I do worry about that as well with the quarterbacks he's got. That
I think his real strength are in the wide receivers he's got coming up.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of curious to see those.
He's got Devontae Adams, Kenny Golladay, obviously the 2 big ones. Debo, obviously he's been injured since.
No, I like
this is a dynasty league, so you've got Michael Pittman, who's exciting. Jerry Jeudy, Marvin Jones can still do a job. Tyler Lockett, AJ Green. Everyone knows he's elite. Sean, you loved AJ Green, didn't you?
Yeah, I've always been a big fan. I say that all the time on this podcast, how wonderful he is out just to support you.
And Marquise Brown, who you are a big fan of, aren't you, for kicking on this year?
I like the wide receiver list massively, and I think that compensates a little bit for my concerns at running back. And you are right, he has spent cheaply. He hasn't overspent.
He's got lots of people he can start at running back. I think he's going to be fine there. Maybe it lacks the overall stars, but it's certainly got a lot to choose from, a lot that can contribute.
Well, the big problem with it is when it's not, in a league like this where you've got to, consider, you've got to start 2 running backs. Yeah, you can do that. Could start 3. Maybe you can do that. But it's wide receivers. I have no problem with this at all. I mean, that's a brilliant list. That's a perfect 2.
He can start 5 of those, I think. So
it's a perfect 2. So at the moment, it's we'll have a look at the rest of his team, but it's an absolute. I mean, he hasn't.
His tight ends are decent as well. He's got Travis Kelce, he's got Mike Gesicki, and he's got Irv Smith Jr. So I like all 3 of them at those prices as well. 5 for Gesicki, decent.
Yeah, I've got to say, if I think you put it all together, and although he's come out quite well at the end here, it's the quarterbacks are the issue. Yeah. Normally, my scoring system is pretty safe. It works well to work out who's going to make playoffs. Now, that's the team on his score should make the playoffs. If I'm honest, I think he's going to struggle to make the playoffs because of the quarterbacks. It's going to be the big issue here.
I think the rest is fine. The QB is a bit ropey.
If a couple of people could, like if he gets the resurgent James Conner, if Marlon Mack has a bigger role than people think for the whole year, if a couple of other players, Debo comes back a little bit quicker and carries on from where he left off, I think he'd have a shot at playoffs with this team because there's a lot of talent. Travis Kelce, no problem. Okay, he hasn't chosen
AJ Green could be a big one. I mean, and how much Jerry Jeudy comes on as well. I mean, it's really strong. There's some really good players.
There's a lot to like. It's just at the moment, I would say this is the team a couple of games short of playoffs. So it's about 5. If he got the quarterback somewhere, even if he compromises a wide receiver, I think he could go quite close to those playoffs, which is what you want. At the moment, I think he's probably, to be fair, it's probably slightly short on that. But it's a very dangerous team because from week to week, if he sets it up right, you just never know what you're going to meet as a score. It's going to be very tough. So there's a lot to like. I mean, you've got Travis Kelce, you've got some great receivers you can put together. You could probably play 2 running backs you like the matchups on. It's just the quarterback issue. He might be okay early doors. If he can get some early wins in, that could be okay.
I mean, a lot depending on Haskins, how much he kicks on, and Darnold. I mean, everyone says Darnold's talented, but we've got to see him prove it, especially for fantasy purposes. So
very much so, yeah.
So the Jets seem to be in a bit of car crash mode at the moment.
It's not.
They'll probably have to throw a lot.
Yeah, it's not bad. As I say, I like the team. It scores well. It's just that with those quarterbacks, you are a little concerned that it's going to be. You put 2 quarterbacks in and you're going to probably think, I wish I'd played one of the other players because they haven't scored as well as the thing. So he may have to consider that with this team, occasionally rolling the dice and risking it on matchups which don't favour the wide receivers. The team that wide receiver's on is going to be throwing all day, great for his team. So you might as well risk it. Okay. So, interesting team.
On to Graham. He has got Dak Prescott, Daniel Jones, and then a couple of... He's only got 2 starters, really, hasn't he? And then it's a wait and see for Carl Allen in Washington.
The positive news with the 2 starters he's got is, assuming that they both play, then the bye weeks are late. So the good news is he'll have a very good steer as to how his season has unfolded by week 10. So, you would know whether you're pretty much on the verge of getting in or whether you're up against it. So that could be a key moment in his season if it was to stay like this.
He's spent nothing really apart from on getting a pick for DeAndre Swift on running back, but it looks a bit ropey running back. But I guess he's going to be receivers where he's strong. He's very strong.
Yeah, I mean, I give the quarterbacks 1 because as much as I like Dak Prescott and I love Daniel Jones, there's nobody else to support them. And if anything was to happen,
they're both 2 good ones to have, aren't they? They're 2 good ones.
Brilliant. If he just had 1 more that I could trust, it would be a perfect 2. But he just hasn't got it.
He's trying to get hold of them, mate. I've tried to get hold of him.
I can imagine. The running backs is a big problem. Can't give it more than one. I'm going to have to give it half, actually, because there's only DeAndre Swift on that list that I feel comfortable around.
Have to throw the likes of Burkhead and roll the dice with, Pollard.
Price. Yeah, that. But it's a little ropey, I've got to be honest. But we'll see.
But look at. I mean, again, the receivers are decent.
Well, actually, I'll readjust the scoring slightly because I think Daniel Jones and Dak Prescott deserve a 1.5, but the running backs are only worth a half, so that's 2 total out of a possible 4. Let's see his wide receivers. That's a big list there.
Yeah, obviously Calvin Ridley, 40.
Yeah, love him.
DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin. Amari Cooper, he's got. This is the strength of his team, isn't it? He's got youngsters in Ayuk and Jefferson as well.
All I can say is he's taken a lot of players I like, so it's a 2.
Nikhil Harry, he's got a lot of young players that can come on there.
Yeah, it's a perfect 2. I can't.
We know he's going to be starting a lot of receivers, don't we? So
yeah, he put the maximum into the field. I mean, it's a really good team for that. I mean, he's got a lot of power there, and I like it. Very interesting. That's a perfect 2 for me there. So he's up to 4 out of 6. That's really good.
He's got Hunter Henry and Sternberger at tight end. I mean, Hunter Henry's okay.
Yeah, solid in this sort of format. That's okay, and the kicker's fine, so it's okay. It's really on the edge. I mean, it's another team. I really like it. This league's very, very evenly balanced. I think that's another team that could be playoff bound. The running backs are going to be a big bloody problem, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to start.
So where it's quarterbacks for Mike, it's running backs for Graham, isn't it? Really, they'll know this, right?
Have to start 2, which is the issue. Anyway, not bad team. I would say probably that again close 6-7 win team. It's very interesting that, very close.
Right, on to Mike Lewis, who is a good guy.
Yep.
What have you got there, Cat?
The cat just roamed past. That's it. Obviously, must be a good sign.
Hopefully, that's lucky for me.
That might be lucky. Yeah.
Right. So let's have a look. So he's only got 3 quarterbacks, and one of them's Detroit's backup. But we don't know. Maybe Stafford sits out, so that could turn into some sort of goal there with Chase Daniel. But he's got Brady and Roethlisberger, so he's got a real dad's army at quarterback there. I mean, it's a dynasty league, so
I would say this. I mean, this is really interesting. Okay, so for this season, a little bit like the last team. Realistically, you've got 2 starters. I like both the starters. I'll give it 1.5, even though it is Dad's army. But I will say this: you're in real trouble if Ben Roethlisberger isn't all the way back. You're in trouble immediately, and you've got big problems coming next year, I think, for both these guys. So, and you haven't got much to back it up. So maybe this team, we'll see how the rest transform. It's okay. We'll see how it plays out, and he may have to do some wheeling and dealing in the off-season.
He certainly spent on quarterback, so he's a veteran of our leagues, and running back. So he's got Kareem Hunt, you like? Ronald Jones.
For this year. Yeah, I like Kareem Hunt. I mean, if you want to find out why I like Kareem Hunt, buy our draft guide. There's a little plug for
Melvin Gordon
guide.
Also, you got some interesting thoughts on him. And Leonard Fournette, for maybe different reasons.
Also in the draft guide. Very interesting. Yeah, good set group. Very
Chris
good.
Carson, he's done all right. He's done really well at running back.
He can start a lot of different running backs who've got a lot of upside here on the matchups. That's a perfect 2 for me. So that's pretty. It's a pretty solid. I mean, 1.5 and 2, so 3.5 out of 4. Good start to the top order of his board. I like that.
I think here he's like he's not got, because he's a Lions fan and he's only got one backup one. He's had to trade for some rookie guy. Look, he's went to the Cephas. He can't help himself. He's had to have a Lion on board. Right.
Yeah,
so
Cooks are good.
Yeah, so you got Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup. They could both do it.
Cooks is going to get
T.Y. Hilton for 14. Decent.
That's cheap. I mean, T.Y.
Even though he injured himself at home somehow.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Alshon Jeffrey, but when he plays, he's good enough. So that's
he was
a
$1. Tyler Johnson's the rookie. Cooper Kupp, obviously very good. Anthony Miller for 6 is pretty decent, actually.
Cortland Sutton, Robert Woods. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of sneaky upside on that.
He's sniffed out a few bargains there, hasn't he? Really?
I might be a surprising score, but I'm going to give it a 2 because there's a lot of players that have interesting roles for this season, and I think he can min-max that with his running backs. So actually, so far he's doing really well. So
He should be trading for Jared Goff because he's got Robert Woods and Brandon Cooks has moved. Oh no, he's got Cooper Kupp. So so Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods he's got.
Well, he's scored 5.5 out of 6 so far, even with the question marks long term over quarterback. So that's very good.
He's got 3 tight ends he like as well. So Mark Andrews, Dallas Goedert, and Blake Jarwin. So
I love it. I absolutely. That's a 2.
Oh, he has got. Oh no, we've missed one, haven't we? So he actually is okay. He's got Matt Stafford as well.
Now that changes everything.
Yes, he's on because he's on the COVID IR, isn't he, as we speak?
Right, so that changes everything. I apologise to Mike there. You would get a 2 for the quarterbacks. You're going to score a 2 for your running backs. You're in a great situation. You are a playoff team, my friend. That is a great team.
Yeah, it's a good team, that.
That's a really good team. I think that team will give anybody on any week a very tough time. That's a good squad.
And now
You've done very well.
We're on to his brother's team now. So his brother's team, Mark, is Hell's Kitchen. He's got 6 quarterbacks. So,
well, let's hope they're good ones. Let's have a look.
Well, he's got Rodgers, but he's Aaron Rodgers, and he's covered it with Jordan Love. So he's got the
good. Yeah, it's clever. You're going to get 1 starter now, 1 for the future. I like that thinking. You've got Nick Foles, who I believe will start in Chicago very quickly. Andy Dalton back up. And Drew Brees,
but who knows what happens to Dak Prescott next year? He could well not be with Dallas, so Andy Dalton could be starting, which is a bit worrying.
So that's a perfect 2 there. That's very strong, and you've got a lot of. I like the fact Aaron Rodgers is going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder. I like the fact that Drew Brees. Maybe this is Drew Brees' final hurrah, but what a year to own the pair. So great opportunity here.
Yeah, I mean he drafted very well. He sort of held back and sort of struck at the right time. So he's been a bit unlucky with obviously Damian Williams being out for COVID. That 15's probably not looking so good now. But
that's unlucky. But that's part and parcel of every team in this league will face it. The same with everybody that's drafting. Everybody will face their nemesis somewhere. No one really gets a season when nothing bad doesn't happen. It always happens in fantasy. You lose somebody. So it's a bit bad luck, but luckily he didn't overspend. Thank God.
Well, he's got loads to cover. Really, he's got Sony Michel, Aaron Jones, David Johnson, Jordan Howard, Kenyon Drake. These are all people that are going to start.
It's a 2. It's a 2 from me. I'm not going to try to overplay the hand. That's a really nice situation that he's got. There's a lot of potential with the players he's named. I will add this though. I have got some concerns over one of those running backs being Sony Michel. There is some news breaking in New England about. I'm sorry to say this, but there is some issues with the knee. And
he's on PUP, isn't he?
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz building there that what is a bit concerning as we move towards the season. So, but your team is has such nice depth. It's a perfect 2. You've got depth even if he's out, you're okay. But it's a good squad. Like them.
He's got some decent wide receivers. They could all contribute actually if you look at them. He's got Adam Thielen, Golden Tate, DeAndre Hopkins, Julian Edelman, Stephen Diggs, Tyler Boyd, Odell Beckham, and Robbie Anderson. So
that's a 2. But the brothers have done well again here.
They have done well.
Brothers have done well. That's a good team as well.
He's drafted really, really good depth here, hasn't he? So
I mean, it's a 2 at quarterback, a 2 at running back, even with issues because obviously a bit of bad luck there. It's still good, and his wide receivers also support that with another 2. So very good.
Waller, Doyle, and Jared Cook, and Will Disley.
That's a 2. And I'm not even worried about the kicker. You guys, you 2 brothers have drafted well. You're both playoffs, and that will be an. I think they're strong teams, very strong. They've done well.
That's a really good depth team. Mark's team. I mean, there's literally no filler really.
Yeah,
maybe Andy Dalton, but it's a super flex league, so
done very, very well. Both the brothers there, well done.
Right, our friend David, from Spain, nice guy. No, he loves early picks. He's so he got the 101 in the rookie draft and got Joe Burrow, and he got basically the 101 in the Devy draft and got Trevor Lawrence, who the league's named after.
Right.
Got Jimmy Garoppolo and Tua as well. So he's got 101 and 1 and 2 and took the 2 sort of star QBs from this season.
Yeah, I think it's a solid two because there's a lot of interesting quarterbacks and a lot of players that will come on over the next 2 or 3 seasons. So you look at that and you think that quarterback group, whether people want to admit it or not, although they're not maybe the biggest names right now, they will grow into quite a good group of quarterbacks. So I think he's in a lovely position with his quarterbacks. He might struggle a little early doors to generate the kind of points other teams might have, but he certainly can put quarterbacks in. So I feel very confident for him there.
Certainly for the future, it's looking pretty rosy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, he's got Saquon Barkley and he needs no introduction. CEH, who you're obviously a big fan of.
Yep.
And then he's got sort of a couple of sort of filler players, really. Mike Boone, who did well when Dalvin Cook went down last year, but they have got Mattison as well. Chase Edmonds, who backing up Drake, who could have a role.
Yep.
With Breeder gone, Jerick McKinnon could finally get a role in San Francisco.
Yeah,
but, you know.
it's not quite a 2. It's a 1.5, but it's still very strong. And the reason it's not a 2 is there isn't that much depth behind the 2 main guys at the top order of your board. But it is very good. And if anybody kicks on, I mean, Chris Thompson could kick on because, again, why can't he? I mean, we don't know how badly Raquel Armstead is affected. James White in New England, we don't know what's going to happen with the New England running backs. Anything could happen. You might end up with a star. Kenyon Drake might fall over on his sword, and it'd be Chase.
Yeah, he's got Duke Johnson. They could all contribute in an emergency.
It's not horrendous, but it's not quite perfect. But it's 1.5. It's still bloody good. You got very nice 2 at quarterback. I like the team so far. It's nice too.
Okay, no, he hasn't spent any money. If you have a look at it, he hasn't spent more than $2.
Wow.
On any of his wide receiver.
Okay.
I think a lot of the money obviously went on Saquon in the early to sort of look at it.
Okay. Let's go through what he did get though with his wide receivers. Name them. Tell me who stands out to you as the star of the group.
Well, Emmanuel Sanders will still do a job for a year or 2. You got Denzel Mims coming through with the Jets, but obviously you might have to wait on him. Sanu might be able to do a bit of a job. John Ross, I mean, he flashes brilliant, but never stays healthy. Yeah. Josh Gordon, he's on his 58 suspension. And Antonio Brown, I think he's gone for fun players. I mean, the Browns going to miss 8 games, but he might come back after that and be a player.
He might. The trouble with this group of wide receivers is that you need to start 3 of them. And then you have to maintain that. So it's a 0.5 for me. I'm not seeing that here with that group of receivers. That will be the Achilles heel for this squad. It's going to be tough. He needs Brown to come back week 9 and contribute. Larry Fitzgerald might do a job, but again, it's hard to know. Josh Gordon, with no metrics. Denzel Mims, very tough year ahead, as you highlight. So it's going to be tough. It could develop into more later in the season, but it might be too late. So I can't score it higher than that because there's quite a lot of issues here.
Okay. And we've got Jeffrey Wilson there, but obviously he could contribute for San Francisco. But right, on to Shani.
Probably that team slight shade away from playoffs, unfortunately. 1 or 2 games back there. But if a couple of players kick on and he gets Brown back and even say Josh Gordon got picked up, then it can all change in a heartbeat.
Okay, on to Charlie. Got 2 decent quarterbacks in Deshaun Watson and Ryan Tannehill. And then a couple of nice Devy ones. And then Jacob Eason, who you quite like for the future.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, he's very good for a couple of years down the line, I think. So, one to watch.
I mean, that's all right at QB, isn't it? So
that's solid. It's going to carry your team.
It's a bit like me. He's got 2 starters, and he's hoping someone else can sort of chip in at some other date. But
it's going to be a fury of activity if anything happens. But he's all right till the middle of the season. So and they're good 2 starters. 1.5. You needed 1 more, would have been really safe. He hasn't quite got it yet. But 1.5 is okay. Very solid start.
He was saying in the draft that he was trying to bid up some tight ends and he got caught with some of them. So he really had to manoeuvre to sort of get to the team he wanted, really. So he's got a few Devy players. So it's Trey Sermon. He got Eno Benjamin, who's obviously in this year. Darrington Evans is in this year. And then KJ Hamler, Colin Johnson, and Gabriel Davis, Chris Olave, and so he's got a lot of young sort of Devy players for the future and rookie players that he got cheap. He was sort of very canny in the way he was sneaking in and sneaking some late picks with some really cheap bids. So
Well, he's. Let's look at his running backs in a bit more detail. So
he's probably been a bit unlucky with Vaughan's because they've, but he was second round pick. Jalen Samuel, I think Brian Hill's an interesting one, isn't he?
I mean, we're not sure on Gurley, so here it's worth owning. It's worth owning Hill. He's got Derrick Henry,
he's got Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook, who are very, very nice.
Very, very good.
And they're going to be the ones that sort of carry that backfield, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, so relaying a message. Just relaying a message to the youngest. Sorry to the people listening in. Yeah, she's just popped out, darling. She'll be back in about 10 minutes. All right. Sorry about that. If I don't pass the message on, she get very anxious. Let's.
You got Mike Evans and Mike Williams here are probably going to lead his sort of receiving core. I like both of those players actually. I think. Maybe I don't like Mike Williams as quarterback, but I like him as a player. And $6.
Yeah, the running back situation he's got is 1.5. So where he's got 1.5 from his quarterback, 1.5 because he's got two good starters. Now his wide receivers, Mike Evans. Yeah, well, we're still going to do a good job down there, isn't he? I mean, there's no doubt about it. Mike Evans will still have a role.
Yeah, I think he's suffering a bit like my team, where he's got some really good players and then not much depth or a bit.
Yeah, the wide receivers you've got. The problem is
he can start two tight ends though with Gronk and Kittle, so they're quite nice.
Yeah, you've got to start three wide receivers in this league. So the problem here is I can see an easy, a logical twos that I can comfortably say I
need somebody to,
and then there's somebody else has to come on. So your issue is every week, and then when there's bye weeks, that's going to hurt. So it's a one there, and the tight ends, Rob's good.
George Kittle.
George, well, they're trying to. There's a game going on at the moment in San Francisco. I have to assume they'll sign Kittle. So it should.
I mean, he has reported to camp, so it doesn't look like he's going to opt out.
It's pretty solid. Obviously, his tight ends are really good. We won't bother with the kicker. We won't score them because they should all score okay. The team has got some balancing issues, but I'm sure Shani's aware of that. He's done that through the Devy players. He's trying to look ahead. And his team, looking at some of the Devy players he's taken, I really like them, and I really like the future for those players. So his team probably this year might struggle, but will grow into a more competitive team next year, I think.
See, he's got the foundations of a really good team, though. That's the thing. So if he can find and wheel and deal, he could still well be in there. Right.
He's not. It's not a million miles off what you need.
No, it isn't.
It's one or two players.
It's got all the foundations. If he can do well in free agency and trading, or some of his players kick on.
Well, that's the strength of his. It's not a million miles off. It's not a million miles off being very competitive, and he's got some nice pieces in there, as you say.
Right, last two. So we've got Breezes, Matthew. He started coming into a few of our leagues. Good, nice guy, actually. He's a funny guy. Okay, so he sort of bought a few middling quarterbacks. Drew Lock we like, who could kick on. He's got Cam, obviously, and Stidham. So he's got the QB starter, unless it's Brian Hoyer, which would be a bit harsh. He's got Tyrod Taylor, who's going to do a job for a bit as well.
Mitch Trubisky.
They've been talking Trubisky up.
Well, they got to, and they got to try.
Got to try. Everyone's go. It's
they've got to try.
Fans.
It's okay.
He hasn't spent a lot on QBs, but he's done all right, I think. He's done all right.
It's a solid one. I won't score it higher than that because, again, I think it might be hard to cover bye weeks here, but it's okay. We'll see how it plays out. If Mitch Trubisky wins the job, I would give it a 1.5, but we'll have to see how it plays out. And you'll know pretty quick what's going to happen there.
He's got 4 first-round Devy running backs. So Travis Etienne, Max Borghi.
Very clever. Yeah.
Journey Brown and Chubba Hubbard. They're really excited to look forward to in the future. But he's also got Eckler. He's got Geis. He's got Josh Jacobs. He's got some nice players there. Darrell Henderson, who you're a fan of, he can still do something. This is the final year for Henderson. He's got to somehow find a way on to at least be part of a rotation of running backs to prove why he deserves his opportunity. Otherwise, his name will disappear after this season. Mattison has a chance if anything happens to Cook. Same with
AJ Dillon. AJ Dillon has a chance, which which people may not see, but he will do. He'll have an opportunity for a few carries here and there. Yeah, it's a pretty strong 2 because he's got some starters. He's got players that are going to come on next year. I think he's, well, I'll give it 1.5 and it's going to grow into a much bigger situation for him moving into next year.
He's got Eckler and Jacobs, who are really good players for this year.
I like it. Half-point PPR. There's a lot to like here.
Darius Geis, he could still break out. He looks a player. When he plays, his yards per carry is actually pretty decent.
Yeah, he did look very good. It's a 3 out of 4 from the 2 areas to start, so that's pretty strong. And the team has an opportunity to grow. So there's always a nice thing in Devy League. So you look at it and you're thinking, yeah, that team can really look interesting next year as well. He
drafted a lot of the sort of cheaper players I liked as well. I mean, he's got Michael Watkins. He needs no introduction. Michael Thomas and Sammy Watkins. Obviously, they've been around a bit. I mean, Michael Thomas, best receiver in the game, got nearly 300 points last year. DJ Chark had a breakout season. All the metrics and all the sort of vibes.
Again,
him. You like Claypool as well as a sleeper, don't you? And,
the only thing with the wide receivers is it's a small group. He's got to start 3 of them. And, based on that, this group can only be given a 1.5, even with Michael Thomas.
I don't know. I'd be happy. I'd be happy starting Perryman. I think he'll do a good job. I think he got him quite cheap. He really did well for the Bucs at the end of last year. DJ Chark and Michael Thomas and Darius Slayton and Watkins. They're all startable.
It's 1.5 out of 2. It's very good. It's 75% out of 100. That's okay. And he's done that from every area. So his team is very playoff worthy team. This
and he's got Hayden Hurst, tight end, who I quite like for this year. I don't see.
Yeah,
he didn't make the top 10 consensus tight ends list, which
strong.
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 Have a decent job.
Yeah, I mean that team, Matthew, you've done brilliant. That's a playoff team. I think I have no problem with that team, and it will grow into an even stronger team next year. It's quite a frightening team. It's got great potential.
Why did you say that about my teams?
Because it didn't have potential.
It was rubbish. Okay. This is Sen Horan. He's a guy that plays in Devy League with Graham. I think he.
Oh, okay.
He's sort of the first league he's done with us. But I know he's done Devy Leagues before, and that'll be spelt out with the sort of draft he's done. So he's picked up a couple of late quarterbacks. So for the future, they're both sort of promising guys that could come through. He's got Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield, two young QBs, and he's got Trey Sanders, Marshall Lloyd, Brees Hall, and Bijan Robinson, and Devy, all good running backs. So he's kind of got no average players. He's got 3 starters, and then he's got 4 Devys to look forward to. He's got 2 starters there, and PJ Walker is a backup.
Well, I think if you're honest though, what it looks to me is for this season, it's a 1 at quarterback because you get the same problem with a few other teams. You got a couple of starters and then the rest.
They're decent starters. He's probably worth 1.5.
I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying they're two starters, but on bye weeks you've got a problem, and that maybe that changes next year. Your running backs, sure, you've got some nice pieces, particularly with Alvin Kamara. But they're also just pieces that are serviceable. You've only got to start 2, but a lot of your players won't mature until next year.
When you look at it, what he's done is there's no $1 filler players. There's either starters or there's Devy players, and that's kind of interesting because this is a guy who's played it a lot. So it's kind of interesting to learn how they sort of go about forming a roster.
Again, it's going to be a 1 at running back, but the potential to grow into next season is massive with the group that he's chosen. So again, I like the future for his team. I think this year, I think he knows that. That's why he's playing the Devy League. I think he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 5 good Devy wide receivers to look forward to as well.
Yes, that's a clever group. Again,
in particular, was a great pick for that sort of bargain. I think I don't know why he didn't go earlier, and he went just before my pick as I was gutted.
I mean, if you look at his wide receivers, other than the obvious Tyreek Hill,
I like Deontay Johnson. Preston Williams, I like Christian Kirk. A lot of people like him. Paris Campbell could come forward.
Yeah,
the Raiders been talking about not being afraid to start Brian Edwards from the start. They were saying, it's a group that's even though it's got Tyreek Hill, you've got to start 3. I'm going to give the group 1.5 out of possible 2. Future-wise, it looks excellent. I have to say, I'm really impressed with the group of Devy players he's gone after. Really interesting.
So again, his team looks like a real future team. I mean, this year it's going to really struggle, I think, but that's not because he hasn't got players. It's just that he hasn't got enough of them. It will grow into a very...
It hasn't got much depth because they're all in the Devy future. So it's even hard to drop one and pick one up.
Yeah, it's going to grow into a good team, though. I mean, looking at some of the names, and the names that don't mature, you can get rid of. So I like the future of the team. If a couple of players kick on, it will be interesting. But I think this team already is not really a playoff team for this year. But I think he knows full well what he's doing, and that's spelled out by these Devy players.
Yeah, it's the future that's exciting for him. And obviously you got Evan Ingram, OJ Howard, Jonnu Smith, who serviceable tight ends.
Well, Evan Ingram is everybody's dark horse at tight end to have a great year this year again, because of the schedule and various other reasons. So, I'm not going to say he can't. I mean, any tight end could. That's a good team. In that one guard, it ends well. The tailgun Charlies do okay. But it's a team that probably is going to struggle this year, but it's certainly going to mature into a very tough team next year. That could be a very, very different team when you review it next season.
Yeah, well, we might come back and have a look at some of these and see how they got on. And then that's it. That's a lot. So if you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you're still watching, thanks very much. And thanks you to Sean for breaking them down.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And we'll see you on the next one.